On June 2nd, Sculpt Games will have been in business for 7 years in Great Bend. Now, 7 years is a long time, especially in the life of a business. It's almost like the life of a fly, like 7 years can be more than the life of a business. And if you get to 7 years, hopefully it's a pretty good sign. But at 7 years, we've made lots of changes, from starting in 1,000 square foot building in town to doubling our size in a year, and then to buying this building, and then to filling this building, and then to having this building so full that we kind of got to think about clearance items. So at Sculpt Games, Daniel and I started this business way back in 2017. We were both teachers. For a while, we kept our day job. The business evolved into something we could do full time, and we've got full racks. We have like 500, 600 different board games in this building, and making the decisions on how to effectively transition into new areas is sometimes a little difficult. We wanted to add a bunch of plushies. And if you ask me and the data, because we're a team, these plushies have been a great addition to the store. Actually, so far this year, we're averaging over 2 plushies a day in sales, and it broadens our appeal. If a family comes in for the basketball tournament that was held at Barton County, both girls went home with a plushie, the boy went home with some sports cards, and the family bought some board games, and they all went home with something that was theirs. It makes us more palatable, more inviting, more opening. If we can get people in the door, because we've got this really cool Waterfall Douglas stand, if we can get people to come back because plushies, they feel really good to cuddle, then we're winning the battle. And to win the battle, sometimes you got to give up a little ground. And that ground we had to give up came from that wall back there, which is all board games. Even board games up on the top up there, because we have so many. And making these choices, we look at our data, we look at our space, and we're really trying to optimize the dollar per square foot by making the best choices. And there's some board games that sell very few. There's a lot of board games that sell quite a bit, but there's some board games that sell the most. So you got this bell curve, right? And if we can kind of cut off a little bit of the tail end and optimize the rest of it, and then bring in something that averages 2 a day with a whole variety. I probably over-ordered on those stuffies at first, but we learn from our data and we try to condense the space with the best-selling tail end of that bell curve, and kind of learn to cut off that other bell curve. And a clearance area seems like a good way to do it. Now, the long-term goal is evolving. It's kind of always that way in a small business. But what we want to do with our clearance rack is we want to put it at the back of the store. I'm in the section by the used video games, used DVDs, near the play area, and have a small clearance rack in a reliable location. We've got some trading card games over here that aren't printed anymore. We put them in our clearance section. I've got this mini where its back fell off. I put it in the clearance section. We've got some bubble pops that we've had for a little while, and they're in the clearance section. And those board games, we have some of those on the other side. But the idea is you'd have to walk all the way to the back. You'd kind of have to know it existed or explore the store enough to find it, to find the clearance rack, and then you can treasure hunt. But this area right here, back here by the DVDs, it's not our highest dollar per square foot space in the store, but it could become a draw for people that like those clearance sales. Now, there's a little bit of a balance to that. And that balance is making sure our clearance rack is small, affected, and isolated. We don't want to change the brand value of our store. Sculpt Games markets on one of the biggest selections around, an inviting store that's an experience in itself. You walk in and hopefully the first time you think, wow, and you want to be here. There's a draw in. We host events to draw people in. We have a great variety. We have helpful staff. We have hot products. We know the products well ourselves. All those are marketing points that build Sculpt Games value, and we don't want clearance pricing to be what people rely on for Sculpt value. So we're going to keep our clearance rack really small. We're not going to run regular interval sales. I'm never putting my whole store on sale, but we might have a ding and dent section. We might have we bought these Barbies, and they're new, but we bought them, and then we didn't find quite the market that we wanted for them. And they're on clearance now. They're still new, but they're not an item we regularly get. It's a discontinued type of sale, and that makes sense over here. And these board games are small. Honestly, some of these I've moved twice with, and some of these I actually, so in our early years, we had a couple different businesses like ours that went out of business and sold to us. And some of those board games we still have. There's actually 3 different businesses where we bought their remaining board game supply when they stopped operating in a brick and mortar. And that's done pretty well for us. It let us learn about the variety of board games. We've sold quite a few of them. But as we get towards the tail end of that, a discount makes sense on the clearance. We didn't particularly pick them ourselves. They've had lots of opportunities in the store. They're kind of small, so they fit well over here. So we do have board game clearance in 2 sections. But hopefully this will allow us to move some product, make some space, reorient our store to optimize sales, give a draw for people who do like those bargain hunts. They'll start knowing the clearance sections in the back, keep it small and isolated so it doesn't impact the overall brand value, and see what we can do with it. So those board games, they're interesting right now because right now they are 50% off. So if you're looking for a deal, it might be the time to come try the board game clearance rack at Sculpt Games. We do have one at the front and we have one back here. And then we'll see how clearancing goes. I didn't go to business school. Hopefully I'm not stepping on my own toes here. But I think that this clearance rack will be a good addition to the store to help us move some ding and dent products, some discontinued products, some older products that have sat a while. And we have a great store, an awesome selection, a staff that loves the product, and customers that really value the experience. And I think we can meld those two to where we have a small clearance section at the back and customers who love the place because we love the products and we have a lot of them. So we'll see you at Sculpt Games, 4908 10th Street in Great Bend. Board games just went to half off on the clearance rack.